Think about this for 1 second. Right now, in 2026, Germany trusts Britain with its gold. France trusts Britain with its gold. Countries that fought wars against Britain, countries that were colonized by Britain, and countries that watch Britain freeze other nations' assets without warning are still choosing to store their national wealth in a vault under a London street. This isn't some historical hypothetical. It's a real thing still happening today. Here's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Britain has already shown the world exactly what it will do when it needs to. It kept Venezuela's gold in 2020. It froze France's reserves in 1940. It never returned the Russian Tsar's gold after 1917. It blocked Egypt's assets in 1956. None of this is hidden, yet the gold remains there. So the real question is not how Britain collected the world's gold, it's why the world keeps on sending them more. That answer goes back 400 years, and it explains something about power that most people completely misunderstand. Here is the comparison that should make everything click. 400 years ago, Britain had no gold, no empire, and no navy worth mentioning. It was a broke island on the edge of Europe watching Spain dominate the world. Today, Britain owns just 6% of the gold sitting in its own vault. 17th in the world, behind Italy, behind France. And yet every morning at 10:30 and every afternoon at 3, every central bank on earth waits for London to tell them what their gold is worth. Nothing changed. Everything changed. Britain went from having nothing to controlling everything without ever needing to own it. That is the story. And it started with a decision that was so ruthless it would be illegal today. In 1577, Queen Elizabeth I did something no respectable government would admit to doing. She secretly funded a pirate, gave him state protection, and sent him to steal from the most powerful empire on earth. In 2020, the British government refused to return $1.8 billion in gold to Venezuela and cited legal technicalities while the Venezuelan economy collapsed. 400 years apart. Same move, different costume. That is what this story is really about. Not gold bars, not historical dates, but a system built over 4 centuries that still runs today, still extracts value today, and still holds the world's wealth in a basement that the London Underground had to reroute its tracks to go around. Here is how it was built and why it still works. Then, England was broke. Spain controlled the world's silver supply through a mountain in Bolivia worth $60 billion in today's money. Queen Elizabeth I could not compete militarily or financially, so she funded Francis Drake, handed him state protection, and sent him to rob Spanish ships in waters England had no legal claim to. Drake seized the Spanish galleon Cacafuego off Ecuador. The haul delivered a 4,700% return to investors. The Queen was among them. Spain demanded Drake be executed. Elizabeth knighted him on the deck of his own ship. Now, governments cannot officially fund pirates anymore, so instead they fund banks, impose financial sanctions, freeze foreign assets, and control the standards that determine what money the world accepts as legitimate. The mechanism changed, the intention did not. Elizabeth took Spain's gold and used it to build a navy that destroyed the Spanish Armada in 1588. The method was piracy. The result was permanent dominance. Britain still dominates global gold. The method is now a vault, a pricing mechanism, and a delivery standard. The result is the same permanent control without needing a single warship. Then, in 1600, Britain stopped using individual pirates and built something far more scalable, the East India Company, a corporation with its own army, its own courts, its own currency, and 260,000 soldiers, twice the size of the actual British Army. The extraction model was elegant in its brutality. Indian citizens paid taxes to the company. The company used that tax revenue to buy Indian goods from those same citizens. Those goods were shipped to Europe and sold for gold. British shareholders collected dividends. India collected poverty. Economists estimate the total extraction at $45 trillion over 2 centuries. Now, no government runs a private army in foreign countries anymore, at least not openly. Instead, the extraction happens through debt structures, currency dependency, trade standards, and institutional frameworks. that developing nations must comply with to access global markets. The East India Company is gone. The World Bank, the IMF, and the London Bullion Market Association are still here. Different names. Same architecture of dependency. When a country needs emergency financing today, they accept conditions that redirect its economic policy toward creditor priorities. When a country's gold does not meet London good delivery standards, it cannot be sold on world markets at full value. The uniform changed. The power structure did not. Then, in 1821, Britain made the single most powerful financial move in modern history. It adopted the gold standard, tying the British pound directly to gold. Overnight, every country that wanted to trade internationally needed pounds. To get pounds, they needed gold that was considered legitimate, and Britain wrote the rules for what legitimate meant. The 1850s Australian gold rush and the 1886 South African discoveries sent gold straight to London for processing and certification. British companies owned the mines. British banks handled the transactions. British institutions collected the fees. By the early 20th century, Britain controlled territories producing 60% of the world's gold, and every ounce had to pass through London to matter. Now, the gold standard is gone, but the London fix remains. Since 1919, the world gold price has been set twice daily in London. 10:30 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, every jeweler in Dubai, every central bank in Asia, every mining operation in Africa prices their metal against a number produced in a London room. Britain no longer needs to own 60% of the world's gold. It just needs to own the room where the price is decided. That room still exists. That number still moves markets. That power never went anywhere. In the 1930s, with war approaching, the Bank of England dug 15 meters below London specifically to make the vault bomb-proof. The construction was so significant the London Underground had to reroute its tracks around it. Employees standing among the gold bars today can still hear the trains rumbling through the walls. 9 halls, 2 levels, 27,000 square meters, vault doors weighing several tons, keys 3 meters long, 460,000 troy ounces per bar stacked in formations as tall as a 2-story building. Then came the moment Britain still cannot explain without embarrassment. Between 1999 and 2002, Chancellor Gordon Brown sold 401 tons of British gold at $275 per ounce. He announced the sales publicly in advance, which pushed the price down before each auction. Gold today trades above $2,800 per ounce. The decision cost Britain an estimated £19 billion. Financial markets named it Brown's bottom. It remains one of the most criticized economic decisions in modern British history. But here's the comparison that matters. While Britain was selling its own gold, the vault was getting fuller, because as British reserves shrank, foreign deposits kept growing. Every country watching Britain sell its gold was simultaneously choosing to store more of their own gold in the same building. That tells you everything about the difference between owning gold and controlling the system around it. Britain was losing one. It never lost the other. Today, the vault holds 5,100 tons worth over $1 trillion. Britain owns 310 tons, 6%. The other 94% belongs to nearly 100 countries who choose to keep it there. Then, 400 years ago, countries sent gold to London because British warships made sure they had no better option. Now, countries send gold to London because London is the only place on Earth where you can sell $1 billion worth of gold in a single day and have it settled by close of business. You do not move bars. You change a name in a ledger. $70 billion in gold transactions happen in London every single day. That liquidity exists nowhere else. Then Britain enforced its rules with cannons and trade monopolies. Now Britain enforces its rules with the London Good Delivery Standard. If your gold does not meet London's specifications for weight and purity, it cannot be sold on international markets at full value. One city still decides what gold the world accepts as real. And underneath all of it, the same truth that has always been true remains unchanged. Physical possession is everything. Britain froze French gold in 1940 when France fell to Germany. It blocked Egyptian assets in 1956 during the Suez Crisis. It kept the Russian Tsar's gold after 1917 and never returned it. In 2020, it refused to release $1.8 billion to Venezuela, citing political disputes over the legitimate government. Court orders did not move them. International criticism did not move them. The legal mechanism is a force majeure. In a genuine global catastrophe, Britain could retain every bar in that vault, $1 trillion, 100 countries, no realistic path to recovery. Then, Britain built an empire by controlling trade routes with warships. Now Britain maintains an empire by controlling the price, the standard, and the custody of the asset the world still runs on. The ships are gone, the vault is full, the price is still set in London twice a day, and 100 governments are still choosing to sleep with their national wealth beneath a British street. Britain did not keep the empire. It kept something better. It kept the rules. And the most ruthless thing about that is that the countries that follow those rules do so completely voluntarily. The empire moved underground, and it never stopped running. Subscribe now, because the next video shows you another system, built exactly the same way, that controls something you use every single day without realizing it. History does not just repeat, it rhymes. So make sure you're listening for the next Money Echoes, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.